As a lifelong Sega fan, I have appreciated and enjoyed collecting Sega over the many years of my journey of collecting video games. And in today's video, this is a marathon Sega collecting video where I take my complete sets of Sega and put them together in one video. I've really enjoyed doing these types of videos and putting them all together for those that may have missed them, of me uploading these on my channel over the last years. I want to thank everybody for the ongoing support. So sit back, relax. You may want to grab some popcorn. Here we go. The immortal John Hancock here, and I'm going old school today. And I thought I'd share my Sega Master System US collection with you today. And so in this video, I'm going to share what I have, everything I've collected over the years, put it all together in one video. Let's take a look. This is my US Sega Master System collection. I do have a complete game collection. I don't have all the variants, but I have many of the major variants. And so I'm going to go over and show you my collection as best I can. And I've done some other videos on Master System, but I haven't really covered it all at once. I have a blue cart variation video that I'll put a link to, but this is everything I have for my US Master System collection. 114 games for the set. And right here are kind of the more common Master System boxed systems that you find in North America. And you're probably wondering, why do you have two? They look the same. Well, there's one actually has that. There's a couple other box variations, but it has the Hang On Safari Hunt built in. Kind of cool. It's got the Montgomery Ward sticker on it. Now this one's really actually pretty hard to get. This is the Sega base system. Very difficult to find in the US. It's got kind of a gray box, smaller than this box. It's kind of nice to have it in comparison. Very first Master System to be released in the US. Here's a Master System 2. Here it is. It's Sega 3D Scope set box. It's in decent shape, a little banged up. And then this is a refurbished base system that I got. It came from Canada, so that's kind of cool, kind of an oddity. But yeah, it's kind of, you don't see it called the base system too much because it was an early release. I do believe it was sent to stores for demoing the Master System. The accessories that I have, I don't have a box controller. I do believe a controller was sold on blister packs as well, but I don't have an extra controller. But I have a really nice shaped Sega sports pad, pretty hard to get. I have the rapid fire control stick combo, really tough to get this. Got this a long time ago from friends at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Nick and Lacey of Video Game Wizards, good friends of mine. Boxed Sega Light Phaser and the Sega 3D glasses. Pretty good shape too. So that's the hardware that I have. And then the games. So you're going to see doubles as I do this, and the doubles are the blue cart variations. And the games themselves were blue labeled. I did a video on this, and the actual game cases are different too, sometimes just by the bold font. So I'm going through here. So the first one right there, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, the re-release. As you can see, it's got different font on the front of that. Black Belt's another one. That's why I have a double. California games, another blue cart variation. Get the glare here, gotta come down here. Choplifter, another blue cart variation. Love Choplifter on Master System. Columns, part of the Master System 2 launch. And so they took some Sega Genesis games and marketed them for the Master System. Double Dragon, another blue cart. Enduro Racer. F-16 Fighting Falcon was one of 7 Sega cards released in North America. Fantasy Zone. Ghostbusters, pretty tough blue card to get. One of my favorite Master System versions is Ghouls and Ghosts. Like it quite a bit. Now, Golden Axe Warrior, that's one of the harder US games to get, especially with the UPC label on the back. The Great Sports Series. A couple different pack-in variations. Another very difficult game to get in North America. James Buster Douglas Boxing. Very tough to get. My last game actually for my set to complete was Montezuma's Revenge. I needed the manual. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. My Hero, another Sega card. The Ninja, one of my favorite Master System games. There's another variation here, Outrun. Paperboy. Now this Phantasy Star doesn't have a blue card, but the spine has a large bold font, so it was just a variant and I just thought I'd include it. One has a battery backup label on the front, the other one doesn't, so there's just a lot of weird stuff like that for Master System. Power Strike, it's the mail order, pretty tough to get. Rambo, this is probably one of the tougher blue card variations to get, and the case is different too. There's Reggie Jackson's Baseball. There is a blue card variation of that. Right there. R-Type. Slapshot. It's one of the oddities that, like Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, it's a blue card, but there's in the US that's the only way to get it. Spider-Man, another one that had a sticker on the back of the case, but the manual looks PAL. And there it is. That's the Holy Grail for Master System US, and it's just the same as the PAL release, just a sticker on the back to show it's a US release. My Strider still has a shrink wrap on it, it's coming apart, but sealed. The Wonder Boy, there's two different Wonder Boy variations. There's Wonder Boy in Monsterland, and then there's a variation that says Super Wonder Boy on the actual label. Super Wonder Boy and Super Monsterland. So there is a variation of that. Now, only have very few homebrews. There's other homebrews as well. Sydney Hunter, The Sacred Tribe by Collector Vision. Fantastic game. I did a video on it. And then this is just an unreleased educational Sonic game. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And you're probably wondering, what are these 3 cards here? Well, those were some of my very first games I rented as a kid for the Master System from Bowman Video in Cottonwood, California. And as you can see, the number 13 there, but inside is the address. The address and rental sticker is still on the carts. So that's it. That's my Master System collection, and I wanted to share it in its entirety. I do these videos because a lot of people want to know, what was released in the US, and very few people can put it together to show it like this. And I just want to help other collectors out, and I hope it helps you out. I hope you enjoyed it. So there you have it. That's my US Master System collection. What is your favorite game? What are your memories playing Master System? Comment below. And as always, thank you for the ongoing support. Let's keep it positive. It's been a while since I did a complete collection video, and I know some people have been requesting it, and I like to share my complete collections with you to show you what was released in a certain regions. Had a lot of fun with this video. It was nice to dig out my Master System stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Hit that like and subscribe button as I upload every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care. The Immortal John Hancock here, and I just got back from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. There were so many great things this year, and this one was special to me. And that mainly was because my entire Sega Genesis collection was displayed in the PRGE Museum. I took a lot of time and effort to put this collection together. And for those who couldn't go to PRGE, I want to share that with you on my channel with commentary. And so sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this video. The Sega Genesis library is very diverse with many different types of games, game boxes, art styles. And here we go. I'm showing you as best as possible in 4K the Sega Genesis collection faced out. Lots of different games, strategy, platforms, sports, action. And like I said, the Sega Genesis library is very diverse, and a lot of people kept on commenting, boy, there is a lot more Genesis games than I actually thought there was. And so it was nice for people to reminisce about things and point out their favorite games. It's just nuts. And so a lot of people thank me that they were able to see the games faced out and to look at the box art. And so, yep, Battletoads, 2 Battletoads games, 2 Beauty and the Beast games on the console. Lots of different games. This is a lot of sports titles, but there's also a lot of great action platformers and action games and brawlers. I've really appreciated collecting this console over time, good and bad. And there's just so many different types of games, and so everything from Castlevania Bloodlines, excellent game, Captain America and the Avengers, 2 games forgotten, Caesar Palace, Champions, World Class Soccer. There was a championship Pro-Am game that was pretty good. But there was, Sega Genesis is known for its countless sports titles. But what makes this library fun to collect for is that it doesn't have what I call the Nintendo tax. And, typically between a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo title, a Super Nintendo title is typically more expensive because there are more Nintendo collectors out there. But I just want to say that the Sega Genesis had many awesome ports on it, and a lot of individual titles that were exclusive to the system. Desert Strike's amazing on the Sega Genesis, Doom Troopers, Mutant Chronicle Doom Troopers, as well as several other games that were exclusive. There's so many titles that I remember playing back in the day and still play today. Ernest Evans, Earthworm Jim, Echo the Dolphin, just to name a few of the classics right there. And there was a lot of other oddball, Elemental Master, El Viento, Eternal Champions. I mean, there was just a ton of these kind of 8 out of 10 games that I think that, you know, they weren't perfect. They were far from perfect, but they were fun to play, and they really represented what the Sega Genesis could offer. Sega Genesis was a little edgier than Nintendo. Flicky, amazing game. Gained ground, one of my favorites on the console. The list goes on and on. And what you're looking right there, those are Game Factory carts. Those are kind of like carts that you could pretty much put games on, and mine are blank, as most found are blank. And so there is odd collectibles for the Sega Genesis, and it goes on and on. It's never really over. I was so happy to complete this collection, at least one version of every game. There's lots of variations and cardboard variations. I only had enough space to represent pretty much one version of each game that I had, and so it fit exactly in 9 of these acrylic cases that PRG had. Herzog's Vi, awesome game. And so, you know, I really wanted to share the cover art and what each game looked like as best as possible in 4K. So many amazing games. Jewel Master, an awesome hidden gem on the console. Lots of Maddens, yes. Had a lot of great memories playing Maddens on the Sega Genesis. King of the Monsters, decent port. Landstalker, Light Crusader. These are just some of the countless games that I played back in the day. Lightning Force, Musha. So yeah, I want to know, like, what games did you play on the Sega Genesis back in the day? Comment below. I'd love to hear from you. What Madden was your favorite, if you're a Madden fan? You know, I couldn't bring the Mario Lemieux hockey with a hockey puck, but I do have it. Mega Turrican, Mega Bomberman, awesome games. Mazen Saga, Mutant Fighter, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, Micro Machines. I mean, these are just, hit after hit was on the Sega Genesis. It really did a good job competing with the Super Nintendo. You know, in the United States, it was kind of neck and neck. You know, sales numbers, you know, depending on who you talk to, one sold a little bit better than the other. It was pretty close. But, oh, I love that previously viewed movie Blockbuster sticker on my NCAA Final Four. And yes, I kept it on because I thought that was important to note that rental stores put those stickers on video games. Awesome hockey games on Sega Genesis. What was your favorite? This just puts a smile to my face, you know, being able to present this and share this on my channel. It means the world to me, putting this together, and it's just the beginning. Pac-Mania, good game. Phantasy Star 2, timeless classic. Lots of soccer games on the Sega Genesis. Great shooters, great platformers. Prince of Persia, that's the cardboard box variation. My Populous, the early EA box art is hard to get in good shape. Raiden Triad, that is the variation box. Ranger X, another good one. Rampart, Rambo 3, Revenge of Shinobi. Many of these games were ones that I played a lot back in the day. All the cases that you see are original and to the game. I did not piecemeal 99% of the time. The only times I can't account for is if I bought a game used and if they pieced out a different case. And so, Sega Club game, Magic School Bus. One of my last games that wasn't super duper expensive was Scooby-Doo, actually. It's hard to find one in good shape. Shaq Fu, my Shaq Fu sealed with the CD, for people wondering. Skeleton Crew, pretty hard game to get. Soldiers of Fortune, decent port. Sorcerer's Kingdom, pretty hard game to get. All the Sonics. It's funny, a lot of people came right up to the Sonics. Oh man, look at all the Sonics there. Space Invaders 91, Sparkster. Lots of different Spider-Man games made for the Sega Genesis. 2 Star Trek games. Star Control, timeless classic. Splatterhouse 2 and 3. Stormlord, Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. Streets of Rage 2, probably my favorite on the console. Super Off-Road, Super Smash TV. And I tried to just really get one version of each game that best represents the Sega Genesis collection. Target Earth. 3 Tecmo Super Bowl games were on the Sega Genesis. 2 Turtles games. They had lots of platform games. Toe Jam and Earl. I just brings back a rush of memories. I don't know about you, but you know, it was a great time for video games. Lots of different types of games coming out for the first time, and you know, with the enhanced graphics, there was a lot of games that were only available during this time period and beyond. Virtua Racing, played a lot of that back in the day. So many great memories of going to a rental store and playing by the hour. Weapon Lord, that's a game that I rented quite a bit. Wings of War. Look at Wolfchild's artwork, that's awesome. Lots of cool artwork for the Sega Genesis boxes. Faced out, it looks pretty cool. Zany Golf. Zero, the Kamikaze Squirrel. And then the Bible games, Action 52, and you know, some of the few of the unlicensed games. And as well, I had to represent all the Sega Classic games, blue and red, including the cardboard box columns, hard to get. And to finish it off, I had to do the Mega Hits collection. I did a video on those. At least one game represented per title. And you're probably wondering, all right, where is it? I'm getting to it. One moment. I did not forget about Lethal Enforcer's Complete in Box, Wacky Worlds Creativity Studio, as well as representing a kind of an obscure subset, the Video Game Classics Alkaloid Greatest Hits subset. Huge shout out to Archon 1981 for offering to have his personal trainer in this display with my cart and manual, and he had all the paperwork to his personal trainer. I found out my Outback Joey cart works. You actually have to use a personal trainer, customized controllers to activate the game to begin. Thank you, Archon 1981. So there it is, the Sega Genesis Collection US. What did you think? What is your favorite Sega Genesis game? What are your Sega Genesis memories? Comment below, as I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. This was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to share it with you. Thank you so much for watching. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. Thanks to all the PRGE organizers, volunteers, staff, people I talked to. I had a great time. There's so much to see, and you know, I can't wait till next year. It was just huge this year, so I'm excited about coming back. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Immortal John Hancock. You take care. The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm happy to share one of my most favorite collections I've completed. It's the Sega CD. Now the Sega CD is near and dear to my heart. I picked one up back in high school and have been collecting it ever since. I still am adding things to my collection, but way back I did complete the North American game collection among many extras. And in this video, I know many of you have been waiting for me to do this video. I'm going to be sharing my US Sega CD collection. I hope you enjoy. I started collecting the Sega CD in the early 90s with the Model 2. I had invested a lot of time into the Sega Genesis and I had a lot of games, and when the Sega CD Model 2 was announced, I decided to finally jump in and upgrade my Sega Genesis. And although the add-on was not a huge success, there was a lot of games that appealed to me, and that's all that matters. I had a lot of fun with the Sega CD and enjoy collecting it. This is my box Sega CDX. There is my Model 2. It's in great shape still. And there is a Model 1. I picked that up at Video Game Wizards. And over the time, I have collected a lot of different things. These are some of the accessories. Lethal Enforcers was a great gun game for the Sega CD, and American Laser Games also had its own series with its own gun called the Game Gun. And so I've collected many things over time. These are just some of the accessories and hardware that I have. And let's jump right into the games. Sega CD had these like 2-packs. They're kind of harder to get, but there's a lot of games. Some are enhanced, others were exclusive to the Sega CD. The initial launch games were in cardboard boxes and are damaged over time, very hard to get in good shape. But there was great shooters. Android Assault, The Legend of Barry Arm, that was a good shooter. Some games are really tough to get. Others you can find fairly inexpensive off eBay. And I'm just showing in alphabetical order the complete collection, which is about 150 plus games, plus some variations. There was lots of enhancements from the Sega Genesis releases with CD sound. Then there's stuff like Compton's Interactive Encyclopedia. It was like, okay. A lot of full motion video games. Dark Wizard, one of my favorite Sega CD releases. Many full motion video games, like I mentioned, Double Switch. Dragon's Lair, which was on everything. Dune. Some of my games are sealed, including Dungeon Explorer. Earthworm Jim Special Edition. Echo had 2 releases on the Sega CD. Lots of sports titles. I got several of my sports titles at a grocery outlet. And it was a grocery store that was selling Sega CD games. I picked up many sealed. Fahrenheit has both the Sega CD and 32X CD with it. Fatal Fury Special, Final Fight CD. These were some decent releases. Flashback. You know, a lot of people that haven't played the Sega CD, you know, there were some decent releases. It just wasn't enough to compete with the Super Nintendo. Really, that was what the Sega CD was being released, was to compete with the Super Nintendo. So many decent releases. There was a lot of garbage on it, but I appreciate collecting this. The most challenging thing collecting for Sega CD is getting cases in good shape. Kyo Flying Squadron is the holy grail of the set. It goes for well over $1,000 now. But then, you know, there's a lot of weird stuff that you just won't find anywhere else. And so Lords of Thunder, which also had a TurboGrafx release. Now, my Lunar is signed by Jackie Powers, who's a friend of mine and is the voice of Null. She also was the voice of Ruby in Lunar the Silver Star. So it's kind of cool to have her sign my copy of Lunar. You know, there was a decent amount of gun games for the Sega CD, Mad Dog McCree 1 and 2. And then there's stuff like this. Make My Video had a trilogy of terrible games, NXS, Crisscross, and Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Ugh. There's another one of the 2-packs, Frankenstein and Dracula together. Those are kind of neat to collect and getting harder to find. And so there was some decent platform games. But yeah, it was just kind of a combination of full motion video, some slight enhancements. You know, Mortal Kombat had some additional features added to it. But overall, you know, I think people were confused because the enhancements to some games were minor. It might have been like sound enhancements, and it wasn't enough for people to go out and buy the Sega CD in droves. Night Trap, I have both releases for it. Nova Storm, weird games like Panic. You know, there's just a wide range of stuff. There was some decent working designs releases for the set. And, you know, this has taken me a long time to put together. All the cases you see are original. My Radical Rex is sealed with the Activision sticker on it. And so I have a few cracks. And most of the games in my collection are an 8 out of 10 or better. The Rise of the Dragon, why you're seeing 3 is that there was some variations to it. It was the last cardboard release, but it was also released in the 2nd edition case. And then there's a Rise of the Dragon variation with a rating on the cardboard release. And so those are pretty hard to get. And I wanted to show, hey, this is what it looks like. Road Rash, one of my favorite releases for the Sega CD. Played that quite a bit. And so there's weird variations like this. This is a 5-in-1 Sega Classics release, which adds Super Monaco GP. The more common one is the 4-in-1 Sega Classics release. Some of these releases were pack-ins. The Sherlock Holmes comes with the 4-in-1 on the other side. Shiny 4 CD, amazing strategy RPG. And there's my famous Snatcher, which is sealed. Sonic CD, probably one of the best Sega CD games for the set. There was 2 Star Wars games releases. Both of them were just so-so, but interesting to see a Star Wars chess release, of all things. Surgical Strike, which is a terrible full motion video. It's actually one of my favorite full motion video games. Tomcat Alley, another full motion video release. There's another one of the 2 packs. Oh, Virtual VCR Colors of Modern Rock was kind of like watching music videos in grainy video form. Kind of a strange release, very hard to get. And yep, so yeah, there's quite a bit on the Sega CD. Some of it was exclusive. I'm still missing a few things. There is a variation to the Wonder Dog box. There's a red cardboard box that's very hard to get. And there's a sealed CD backup where you can save additional saves to games. Now, probably the holy grail that I have for additional things is my Dragon's Lair demo CD. Pretty tough to get. I don't know the story behind it, as I know it was being offered in stores to share and show Dragon's Lair footage, but I don't know what chains or how far it was released. I do believe, reading somewhere, I do believe it was released in Canada. So I have some strange stuff like that. I have a lot of the not for resale or pack-in bundle software as well. There is a variation of Compton's Interactive Encyclopedia. There's a red and blue not for resale disc. One, and the blue one's pretty tough to get from what I hear. So yes, there's some strange stuff still out there, and I'm sure there's more stuff that's going to be found. But in the Sonic CD, there was actually the first time I was published. I asked a question on Digipress, and they published the question, so that was kind of neat. I also included the Sega CD 32X games. I know it's technically 32X games, but I thought I'd include it. And the Brazilian re-release of Surgical Strike. Surgical Strike was only released in Brazil, from what we know, and it was re-released, only 100 copies. And so I thought I'd throw that in here because it runs on Sega CD. So, and then Limited Run Games did a soundtrack of Snatcher in a Sega CD case this last pack, so I thought I'd show that. There's a lot of aftermarket games. I got some of these at Good Deal Games, and it wraps it up. This is kind of a quick view. Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors, that was just kind of an aftermarket release. And there you have it. There is the Sega CD North American Collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. So there you have it. I have a few other items that weren't in the video. I do have the Sega CD rental case. I did pick one of those up years back, as well as a JVC XI. I do have one loose, and it just wasn't in the video. I couldn't get to it in my game room. And so thank you so much for all the wonderful comments and support of my channel. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was time. It was time to really share my entire Sega CD collection. Many of you have been wanting me to do it. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. This is the Immortal John Hancock. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You take care. The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm doing a collection video of the Sega 32X. The Sega 32X is something I purchased back in the day, and it was far from perfect. Ultimately, I was disappointed, but there were a few games in its library that held me over until the next thing came out. And so what I'm doing today is showing my US Sega 32X collection, and I'm doing this to help other fellow collectors out to see what was released in the US, the packaging, and talk a little bit about the system. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, here is my complete US Sega 32X collection. I don't have all the variations, but I do have at least one of each game and a couple boxed units. I have a loose one that I utilize as well in my game room. So here we go. So I want to first talk about hardware. I have two versions of the hardware. I have the original release, and then later on there was a Virtua Fighter pack-in. And I'm going to talk about kind of this is my box unit. It's almost 100% complete. I think I might be missing a bag or so, but anyways, here's the instruction manual. The 32X came with a lot of things, so I want to talk about this. This is the original manual for the 32X. It came with an additional sheet talking about how to hook it up. As Sega did hardware revisions, they also had to include additional things with the 32X. So there's the base unit of the 32X, which hooks up to your Sega Genesis Model 1 or Model 2. There's a spacer used. That was for additional later models. Also, there was an adapter for the original Sega Genesis. Mine's still in the bag. And that was to connect where the AV cable went for the original Genesis. Two metal clips that went into the cartridge port of the Sega Genesis. If you had a Model 2, you used that cable. There's additional AC. There's the AC adapter that came with my Sega 32X. You're probably wondering what that is. Well, what I've been told, or what I've researched, is that some Model 2 revisions of the Sega Genesis were incompatible with the 32X. And it was fine if you had a Sega CD attached to your unit, but if you didn't, if you just had a 32X, you would need to plug this into the expansion port where normally your Sega CD would be plugged in, and that would make it work. Pretty interesting. This is the AV cable mono that came with the 32X as well. Various bags that everything came bundled in. My system, the box is a little beat up, but it is in pretty good shape. And so I've had this in my collection a long time. And so I want to start with talking about the games. This video is to focus on the physical releases in North America. Now there's 4 games that were not released in North America. There's 2 PAL games. Dark Side, it's a space shooter. FIFA 96. Japan had a Romance 4, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 4. And then the very uber rare Surgical Strike released in Brazil. And there was a aftermarket re-release of that, and I did a video of that on my channel. I can put the link below to Surgical Strike. So here it is, 36 games released in North America, and these are all the North American releases. Complete in box, best as possible. Some of my boxes are a little dinged up, but I wanted to share this for people wanting to pursue this strange Sega collection. And you know, the 32X was kind of a stopgap before the Sega Saturn came out. I waited till it went out on clearance before I picked one up, and you know, honestly, I was kind of disappointed. There wasn't many games that came out, but there are a few gems on this subset of Sega collections, and so I do think that there are a few games to revisit, and it's pretty interesting. I think its popularity still stays pretty strong. I think part of it is the time it was released, the mid-90s, 94 in North America. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Typically, a Sega 32X game would come in a couple different things. Some came in clamshell, many came in a paper sleeved box, a lot like the later release Sega Genesis games. The cartridges themselves were unique, and they looked a little bit different to differentiate them between the Sega Genesis, and you know, they didn't want to confuse people. Hey, this is not a Sega Genesis game. What was confusing though is when the Saturn came out, there was a cartridge slot, and no, you couldn't play your 32X games on it. And the manuals, which mostly came black and white, especially with the cardboard boxed games. The clamshell games came in color. And so, and there you go, there was also, you know, you could also send away for Sega Visions, and a slip was included with most games. So here we go, and here is the North American released games. Afterburner, BC Racers, Blackthorn, which is a pretty good game. Actually, one of the better 32X games. Brutal Above the Claw. Cosmic Carnage. And here's the ill-fated port of Doom. And you know, the reason why is that this Doom was inferior to other versions at the time, and so that's why the 32X, one of the few reasons why the 32X was criticized, because it was supposed to be really a next gen kind of add-on, and this version of Doom is not that good compared to some other versions. Fred Couples 36 Great Holes. Knuckles Chaotix, which is a pretty good Sonic style game. Actually enjoyed that one quite a bit. One of the better, I would say one of the better 32X games. If you're going to go revisit 32X, Knuckles Chaotix is pretty good. Calibri. Metalhead. Mortal Kombat 2. It's kind of a slightly enhanced Mortal Kombat 2 of Sega Genesis. That's part of the problem, is some of these games that came out, they just were slightly better than the Genesis counterpart. And so it didn't, many of the titles didn't show the true power of the 32X. Some did, some were decent, many weren't. Motocross. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. NFL Quarterback Club. Pitfall. A Pitfall sealed. I've had it a long time. I found it in a Goodwill that was with many other titles, Sega Genesis titles that came out at the same time. Just one of those strange finds. Primal Rage. RBI Baseball 95. Shadow Squadron. Shadow Squadron wasn't a bad game. There was a couple arcade ports, Space Harrier being one of them. There it is, Spider-Man Web of Fire, complete. This was a very difficult game to acquire. I've had mine many, many years. It just gets tougher to get. It's an okay side-scrolling Spider-Man game. It's an okay Spider-Man game. Is it worth the price? I don't know. You can play these many different ways, and you know, for people that want the physical copy of it, great. But it is a very, very expensive game now, for many reasons. Limited supply, availability, low print amount, and it's a Spider-Man game, so you have all the fans of Spider-Man pursuing it as well. Lots of challenges getting that one. The underrated Star Trek Starship Bridge Simulator. So that's a good Star Trek game. Kind of gets overlooked by Star Wars Arcade, which is a competent arcade conversion, and there is an upgraded mode in it. This is the game that essentially got me to get a 32X, Star Wars Arcade. Even though at the time I wanted more RPGs to come out, this was a good 32X game. It was okay. Like for me, this and a couple other games made the 32X worth it for me to own, but it's not going to be for everybody. T-Mac, kind of a harder to get 32X game. Tempo, Tough Man Contest, Virtua Fighter, which is a really good version of the arcade game. And so this is another game I thought that actually showed the strength of the 32X compared to Virtua Fighter 2, which was on the Sega Genesis, which is terrible. This was a decent port of the arcade game. Virtua Racing. I like Virtua Racing too. The Switch version of this, by the way, if you're going to play Virtua Racing now, play the Switch version. 60 frames. It's great. The last game, and a very difficult game to get complete, is World Series Baseball starring Deion Sanders. Very challenging game to get. I can't tell you how hard this is to get complete. It's going to be very challenging to track this one down complete. I've had this in my collection a long time. I missed the manual for a decade, and You know, I don't know, like 5 years ago or so. I don't know when exactly, but I did track down the manual I was missing. WWF Raw. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. I'm a big fan of the arcade game. It's pretty fun. Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000, which is not a bad game, actually. This is a game that often people don't talk about, but I actually enjoyed it. So, those are the cartridge-based releases for the Sega 32X. And so you just needed the 32X and a Sega Genesis to play those. The following, you needed both the Sega CD and the 32X to play. So there's Corpse Killer, and I got these, I think I got these at a yard sale when I first moved to Washington years ago. And I found them at a yard sale, a guy selling all the Sega stuff, and it was a good deal. So Fahrenheit have both the Sega CD and the 32X versions included. Night Trap, Slam City starring Scottie Pippen, and Supreme Warrior. And you know, the 32X looks a little bit better than the Sega CD, but not by much. It was just, to me, a total waste. It was like, oh, okay, I need this add-on and this add-on to play these. I'm not a full motion video fan overall. If I had a choice, I wouldn't be playing them, but some people are very nostalgic about this because they grew up with it. I know there's fans. Surgical Strike is probably one of my favorite full motion video games if you're gonna play one. I know there's fans of Night Trap. I know it got re-released, but it's just crazy. Yeah, so these are all sealed, and there it is. This is the complete US collection of Sega 32X. There's other variations of the console. There's probably several variations of each game. Little variations always being re-released and stuff. But if you're looking for at least one of each game, this is it. All 36 games. I hope this helps fellow collectors. Thanks for watching. So there you have it. The 32X had a few good games, and ultimately it was discontinued just a few years after it came out. What do you think? Do you collect the 32X? Have you played the 32X? Comment below, as I would love to hear from you. And I want to say thank you for the ongoing positive support. It means the world to me as I continue to make videos and share gaming videos and collecting videos. I haven't done a collecting video in a while, so I wanted to do that and share a collection with you. Thank you so much. This is the Immortal John Hancock. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You take care. The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm going to be unboxing my entire Game Gear collection and sharing some collecting tips with you. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button and click the bell so you can be notified when new videos are posted. As many of you know, I'm a huge Sega fan and have been collecting a long time. And I have amassed a US loose cart Game Gear collection, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you what an entire US Game Gear loose cart collection looks like, as well as give some pointers on some of the more rarer carts to look out for. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video. So my entire loose Game Gear set fits in this tiny small box. It's been in my game room a long time, and I look forward to sharing and talking about Game Gear with you. Here we go. So here it is. This is my entire Game Gear collection that I've been collecting nearly for almost 30 years. And so Game Gear came out in the early 90s, and I've been collecting it since it came out. Here is my boxed Game Gear that I have in my collection. They're a little bit beat up, but they work, and that's all that matters. One's been recapped, the other one I need to replace. And so a couple accessories here, a Game Genie, a couple ways to play Master System on your Game Gear. And here we go. This is the entire set in alphabetical order. Lots of amazing games. CJ the Elephant is a very rare game definitely on the watch. It's peculiar shape too, so you want to keep your eye out for that one. Very difficult to find. Many fantastic releases: Battletoads, Beavis and Butthead, Bonkers. One of my favorites, Choplifter 3. Even the Bubble Bobble is amazing on the Game Gear. You know, it's an early color handheld. It was a big deal, especially competing against Game Boy. You know, it was, it didn't do as great as Game Boy, but man, it offered some awesome stuff. And so many great memories here. And, you know, the loose card set is a lot easier to attain. Definitely, there's a lot of, you know, adaptations of 16-bit games. Now notice the columns there. There's 2 versions. I used Sega Retro as a way to identify US releases. It was very, very helpful with this video. Crystal Warriors there. And so, yep, I've been collecting a long time. Got many of these games at a Game Crazy near Oregon City. And so many favorites growing up: Double Dragon, Dragon Crystal, Earthworm Jim. You know, and the Game Gear offered some fantastic color handheld gaming back in the day, especially when it competed against the black and white Game Boy. You know, the batteries weren't that great, but, you know, it did offer some awesome games and some exclusives. And so Fatal Fury Special there, hard to see in the video, but fantastic port. One of my favorites. Played that quite a bit. So, you know, many different types of labels. You know, you had the purple artwork, you had the original Game Gear logos, and even the grid-based artwork, which is confusing because some of the artwork is the same as the PAL, and sometimes they changed it up. And so definitely using Sega Retro as a reference really helped me determine if I had a US release or not. And so many different releases. You know, the Tengen releases, Clacks, uncommon to find those. And definitely some of these are getting more difficult to find. It wasn't a wide distribution. Now, this is Magical Puzzle Popples, and they used the same label artwork from the Japanese release, but the US packaging very difficult. Mega Man, another very difficult one to find in the US, and it's getting more expensive. Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, many people grew up with those. NBA Jam, played a ton of that. Wasn't that great, but it didn't matter as a kid, because I purchased it with my own money and I played it a lot. Ninja Gaiden, definitely a unique release for the Game Gear. Lots of sports titles. The sports titles should be fairly inexpensive to pick up, unless it's Pete Sampras Tennis, which is another very difficult one to find. Another odd-shaped card. So many of these are gonna be difficult as there's less game stores that carry these. Often they have the same dozen cards. You're probably gonna have to search on eBay for many of these, but shipping at least should be fairly inexpensive as they're small. So lots of sports titles, and there are many 16-bit conversions. So, you know, if you like the Genesis version, you may check out the Game Gear version of the same game. So Samurai Showdown, Shaq Fu, the Shinobi is exclusive, 1 and 2. Definitely, there's a lot of card games, and there's a ton of Sonic releases, many different ones, and some exclusive ones. And so, definitely worth checking out. 3 Spider-Man games. Now, upcoming here, sports trivia. There is a championship edition. It's like a kind of an upgrade to it, and so it's kind of like a ROM update. So 2 Star Trek games, Streets of Rage 1 and 2. I do like the Genesis ones better, but back in the day, it was awesome. Super Space Invaders, another great one and uncommon to find. Even Tails had his own game on the Game Gear. Couple Tasmania games, Tempo Jr. Lots of great memories here. Adventures of Batman and Robin. Played that later. Itchy and Scratchy. Now, Jungle Book. Majesco re-releases are darker in color, and so something to keep an eye out. They do look a little bit different than the original releases. Several Simpsons games. Jungle Strike, Desert Strike, Urban Strike. Definitely keep an eye out for those. Jungle Strike being, I think, one of the more difficult ones to find. Woody Pop, fantastic breakout style game, one of my favorite. 3 X-Men games. All 3 are great. The second one is considered the best of the series, I do believe. I have a couple boxed games, not too many, but I do have a Pete Sampras Tennis, definitely one of the harder ones to get for the set. Keep an eye out for that. Here are my variations, multi-carts, and imports. As you can see, the artwork is different. And so using Sega Retro, you will be able to identify whether or not you have an import or the US version. Very confusing at times. And so, yeah, I even have multi-carts and a couple copy carts like the World Grand Prix there. That's not an official release. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of cool stuff out there to collect. And there you have it. Now I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite games that I grew up with and playing, and I hope this can help you collect a US Game Gear set. I do these collection videos to share what the physical carts look like to help other collectors out who are going for a complete set. This is definitely doable, but it is going to be challenging. Game Boy had Tetris and Game Gear had columns, and I was perfectly fine with columns on the Game Gear. It was the very first game I played on my Game Gear and one of the only titles I had for quite a while, and so I got pretty good at it and just played it over and over again. Choplifter 3, definitely another one of my favorites. I was a huge fan of the computer original as well as the Sega Arcade Classic, and Choplifter 3 is fantastic. You know, people forget that playing games portable in color was a big deal in the 90s, and I had a lot of fun. Woody Pop, terrible name, but a great breakout Arkanoid clone. Had a lot of fun with this one back in the day. Really fast gameplay, and one I probably should revisit because I like these types of games quite a bit. I remember buying this back in high school and was pleasantly surprised with it. Now, Fatal Fury Special is a fantastic 8-bit port of the Neo Geo game. I can't believe they fit all the action and the experience into a Game Gear game. It is really well done. Control is the plus here. Really easy to pull off special moves. I found myself playing this quite a bit, and even though it's scaled back, I think it's a lot better than the Samurai Showdown conversion. And so this is definitely one of the better fighting games on this portable. Bubble Bobble, another great port of the arcade classic. I love the Nintendo release, and I found this one to be fantastic. Great music and gameplay. It also had the Link capabilities where you could play 2-player. I played the arcade game back in the day quite a bit, so being able to play a color handheld version that was close to the arcade was fantastic. So there you have it. What are your memories of the Game Gear? Did you have any of these in your collection, or are you currently collecting for the Game Gear? I'd love to hear about your stories, and your comments are important. Please comment below and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as it helps me out so much. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care. US Game Collection number 29, complete. The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm going to be showcasing my US Sega Saturn game collection. I've been collecting for the Saturn over 20 years, and I have a lot of personal connection to many of these games. And I love collecting Sega. I'm kind of known as a Sega collector, but truth be told, I kind of collect everything. And I wanted to showcase this, and on top of that, I wanted to showcase the front cover art on many of these games. A lot of times you see a lot of Sega Saturn collections out there, they're spined out and they look great. A lot of times you don't see the artwork on the front, and I thought I'd showcase that in today's video. I'm also doing today's video in 4K, and so hope you enjoy it. Alright, so here it is, my Sega Saturn complete US game collection. I'm still pursuing a couple accessories. Most notable, the steering wheel and the arcade stick complete in box. But just wanted to show my game collection This has taken me 20 years. I've had some help getting it complete. I want to thank all the people that helped me with it. And it's been a great journey. Been collecting a long time. Been collecting Saturn over 20 years. And this is what I've accumulated. And so I'm going to do this as best I can. And I thought I'd sprawl it out, face out. You see a lot of Saturn collections and you never see the front artwork typically in a complete collection. Why? Because it takes up a lot of space. And I'm going to kind of go through this and share some of the personal stories and connections that I have with some of these items. In best alphabetical order as possible, I used a collection list online, and this is it. And so real quick, I'll go up here, and that's some of my box accessories. I don't have all of them. Again, I mentioned I need the steering wheel and the Virtua stick, but those are my Saturn accessories that I have for US. The system right there is my first Sega Saturn that I collected at a flea mart a long time ago. And, you know, I was really happy to get one. And this is, you know, I was in college and I would go to the Jolly Giant Flea Mart in Redding, California. It's still around. And was able to score a box Saturn there with a couple games. And it was a lot of fun. It really kind of motivated me to collect more Saturn over time. All the cases that you see, 99% of them are original. I have about 20 that need to be replaced with some minor cracks. And you can see them probably in this video. I'm doing this video in 4K. A lot of great games in the Saturn library, especially the United States. Even though the United States Saturn library is notably small, very challenging to complete. So many great titles though. Even a lot of the sport games are a lot of fun. So I wanted to show this as best as possible. Battle Monsters. Battle Monsters is a kind of a fun game. I typically sometimes pull that out and play that on Halloween. It's kind of a great game. Kind of a weird fighting game. Saturn long box cases are a challenge. Challenge collect, they crack. And there are many challenges with keeping them in good shape. I use protectors for some of my more expensive games, and the link will be below to where you can find those. Burning Rangers, Bust-A-Move 2, one of the strangest covers I think for a Saturn game. Clockwork Knight 1 and 2. Congo. I was missing the instructions for Congo for the longest time, and I eventually just got another one, and so it was in my collection and it bugged me because I was missing the instruction manual. Justin, thank you very much. Contra Legacy War is complete with the glasses inside, unused. Corpse Killer. Croc's a great 3D platformer that often gets overlooked. There was a Saturn version. A lot of people know about the PlayStation one. D. A copy of D's got a couple cracks on the front of the case. And Acclaim, one thing about Acclaim is Acclaim had these different inserts that were lighter. I don't know if it was a shipping issue or why they use their own inserts, but the inserts for a lot of Acclaim games are generic looking and different. And so if you want original, please, I recommend keeping them. So yeah, I'm torn on using replacement cases. A lot of the times I would actually try to use the same game as a replacement case. And so replacement cases look better, but then there's the debate if it's not original anymore. My Daytona USA Netlink edition is complete, and it has a really nice shaped manual and game disc. And I did that in a previous video. My Decathlete, a little sun faded. Most of my games are, 99% in great shape, good to excellent. My Decathlete is a little sun faded on the cover. Another challenge, a lot of these games, some of these games came from rental stores. That's a challenge. Enemy Zero, my Enemy Zero was damaged. The back case art was a little wrinkled, and so finding one in good shape, it is expensive. That's the other challenge with Saturn. The system itself, especially some of these games, are very expensive. And so, going for a set is really kind of a marathon, and it's not fun when you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get a particular game. And I would say, individually collecting Saturn games to play is probably a little bit easier. For me, I was really driven to pursue all of Sega's consoles and complete game collections. This is something that meant a lot to me, especially for a future museum. So that's why I did it. That's why I pursue it. For people that ask, do you play our games? My focus is a museum, and so there's that. House of the Dead, very good version of House of the Dead. Pretty uncommon to find on the Saturn. In the Hunt, another great Saturn game. Incredible Hulk, Independence Day, often overlooked. Not a bad game at all. Iron Storm. My copy of Iron Storm is actually a Working Designs employee copy, and it's got like a promotional stamp inside, and I bought that a long time ago. So many classics here. My copy of Lunacy was missing a disc for a long time, and when I went through, I was double checking the condition of all my games before I did this video. I noticed I was missing a disc, and I wanted to do this video a couple months ago, but I noticed there was just a couple things I really like to upgrade, and my Lunacy finally got another disc for it. Madden 97 and 98, also known as the Sega Saturn cases that are pilfered for other games. But I tried to just really keep it as original as possible. That's why you notice some cracks. But all these game cases, the majority of them, I'd say a ton, are original from the actual game as well. I don't like piecemealing games together. If possible, I try not to do that, as little as possible. Best version of Mega Man 8, right there. It'll cost you though. My Mortal Kombat 2 came from a rental store. Right, Mysteria is a variation, and I have both of them in my collection. Even the sport games for Saturn are going way up. People ask me all the time, what do you think this collection's worth? No idea. If you think comment below in the comments. For me, it's not about the value. It was about representing history. The Sega Saturn was pretty much a failed console in the United States. I still think it had a lot of good titles. Just PlayStation came from out of nowhere and just walloped Sega. But there's a lot of Sega diehard fans that love the Saturn. Saturn did some things better than the PlayStation. I think the 2D gaming was better on Saturn, hands down. But some of the 3D games suffered. Nights into Dreams, I have both versions, including one with the 3D control pad. Here it is. Panzer Dragoon Saga, probably one of the most popular and expensive games on the console. It's excellent. Mine's complete. I got it at Video Game Wizards many years back for 200 bucks. And so just to show you how prices have changed over the years. And so if I was to start the Saturn collection now, don't think I'd be able to complete it. Just really expensive. All right, here it is. That's the game I was missing in my collection, Quarterback Attack. I looked everywhere, and honestly speaking, I don't think I ever had it. And one thing to note is that some Saturn cases have stickers on them. The sticker right there is something particular to this game. And so if you want to keep it original, you have to have that sticker on the case. And so there's a lot of games that have like stickers on the cases, and it makes it original or unique, so you can't swap out cases if you want to keep it 100% complete. It's really challenging sometimes. There's also these cases here. You have GamePro was doing a promo, and so there's several games with those stickers on them. I have a few of them. I don't have all the label variations, but they're nice to collect. In my opinion, this is the best game on the console, Saturn Bomberman. It's absolute blast to play. It's featured at many expos for a good reason. It's a lot of fun. And I still think it's one of the best Bombermans to be offered. This is a strange one. I don't know the history behind this one, but it had a not for resale sticker on it. Actually two. I don't know if it was some type of strange bundle, but I kept the case even though the case has a crack on it because I saw both stickers on there. And the stickers being original, that meant more to me than a cracked case. And so I keep the cracked case because I think that's cool. Shining Force 3, unfortunately in the States, we didn't officially get the other two parts. Shockwave Assault was purchased secondhand and had some strange stickers on it, so I kept the stickers on it. The 3 Sonic games that we received here in the States. Spot Goes to Hollywood. It was a 32X version of Spot Goes to Hollywood unreleased, and it has been dumped. Alright, you're probably wondering, why did you keep that sticker on there? That is from a Software Etc. And that's original price sticker. It's been ripped off, probably because it was sold secondhand for less. And so yeah, Street Fighter, the Street Fighter games, many awesome games on the Saturn. Many of the Street Fighter games are awesome on the Saturn and highly recommend them. My Street Fighter collection, yet another game I was missing one disc, and going through making sure my games were in good shape. One of my games I was missing a disc was Street Fighter Collection. A famous bad game that a lot of people enjoy playing, and that's Street Fighter the movie. Tempest 2000, awesome version of Tempest. Gotta have Tetris. Strange cover art, Tunnel B1. The 90s was full of weird covers and people were trying to outdo each other, and so it's neat to see some of this cover art. All right. Virtua Fighter 1, 2, and Remix. This is a variation that I'm missing, and that's a long box. I do believe it's Canadian, and it's definitely hard to get. It's just one of the few variations I'd like to have, but I'm missing it. A lot of sport games. Some sport games are great, and other games, I think that's a big challenge of the set, is even though there's not that many for the Saturn set in the United States, but a lot of them are expensive. Even common games can be as much as $40 now. And so that's a lot of money for a game that you want to have to complete a collection. Winning Post, that's a really bizarre game, very obscure, Japanese horse racing game. Made it to the States. A little bit of a glare here, apologize. All right, I do have a sealed Netlink, and that includes, you're probably wondering, do you have the Netlink games? Yes, I do, and it's sealed. And I got some oddities now. Now, I don't have all the demos, but I'm going to showcase what I have. I have several of the demo discs. I'm missing some. Demo discs are fun to collect. Some of them are very hard to find now. There is a second bootleg sampler, as well as a Sega Streams Volume 2. I have the first one, and this Sega Streams Volume 2 is probably one of the harder demo discs to find. I don't know what it goes for. I am missing it. I'm missing the sleeve to my Rayman demo disc. And now I have some aftermarket stuff, and I'm really proud to show these on camera. And these are Lost and Found Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. These were offered at Retro Gaming Expo's Classic Gaming Expo first in 2004. And the next one was at Classic Gaming Expo 2007. And these include, you know, unreleased games, commercials, etc. These were kind of nice. Very, very hard to find now. And very few people have all three. I have a picture somewhere on my computer of all the Sega Saturn Lost and Found Volume 1 all together before they were sold. Only 25 of the first one. Very hard to get. And you're probably wondering, why did you choose number 7? 7 is it's my birthday. So April 7th is my birthday, and that's why I chose 7. 7's my lucky number, and that's why I chose 7. Now, up here, Northwest Classic Game Enthusiast 2K7, and that is what PRGE was called before it was called PRGE. So that's a little tidbit there, and so that's cool that it you know, those are the shows in the Northwest before Portland Retro Gaming Expo. So really neat to represent that. And number 47 out of 50. These are aftermarket items made by Saturn enthusiasts, and thank you so much. I'm grateful to have these in my collection. Thank you very much, Kay, for that one. Some other aftermarket. This is a case made for Christmas nights, and there's other aftermarket things that you can pursue, and this is kind of cool. Someone made this, and it's awesome. It was gifted to me, so thank you. And there you have it. Sega Saturn US game collection complete. I'm really excited about completing this game collection, but really, the truth be told, it's never really done. I have some cases I have to replace, as well as a couple accessories I need to hunt down still. And it's never done, but it was good enough for a video for me, and I wanted to showcase, you know, what a US Saturn game collection looks like. I hope this helps other Saturn collectors out there. It's a fun system to collect for, and it is very expensive. I wish it was cheaper. And I just want to thank all the people out there that helped me along the way. There's many, and you know who you are, and I want to say thank you very much. And I want to appreciate all the people tuning in to my humble channel. As this video goes live, I'm going to be pretty much at 80,000 subs, and so I'm really excited about hitting that milestone. I look back, you know, my channel's grown quite a bit, and I have a lot of people to thank for that. And thank you for people continuing to tune in. This is the Immortal John Hancock. I hope you enjoyed this video. You take care. The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'd like to showcase my US Dreamcast collection. I've had a lot of fun putting this together. I'm cleaning my game room, and I thought it'd be fun to show pretty much what does a US Dreamcast collection look like. And I sprawled it out on my floor in alphabetical order, and thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some things that I've amassed over the years. It's been complete for many years, and I didn't want in boxes and kind of wanted to see what it would look like. So let's check it out. After collecting many years and having a complete collection for many years, I wanted to showcase my US Dreamcast collection on my channel. I had a lot of fun collecting for this console, a lot of great memories, and I'm going to share a few about those as I showcase my collection. Now, I've gotten my collection pretty much in person over expos, game stores, used game stores, retail shops, and it's taken a long time to amass this. It's been in storage, and I wanted to kind of some of it was on my shelves, some of it was in boxes. I wanted to put it all together, and I wanted to confirm that I had everything, and so everything's here. And so I'm missing a couple variations. One notable one, the Speed Devils. I guess there's like a clean copy of it where it doesn't have the the devil image on the front, and so it's been confirmed. It's just that there's not many out there, and so I don't have that. All right, so we're gonna go kind of start from the very beginning, and again I'll try to go slow. And for people out there that are just like, hey, did this come out? Did this come out? There's some awesome checklists online that have everything printable. Alien Front online, I got that, I think. Let's see here. I want to say I got it at Circuit City. I could be wrong. But Armada is such one of the classics, one of the best for the console there. Many of these are still playable today and enjoyable, especially with the many different ways of playing Dreamcast games and hooking them up to a modern TV. Cannon Spike, that's a pretty tough one to get. That's one of my last ones, actually. Demolition Racer, I love that game. Just going slow. Just wanted to show just kind of how many games are actually released on the Dreamcast. Crazy Taxi, I'm missing the first standard edition of it, but I have the All-Stars version. I guess it's a silly game that I'm missing. A variation, sorry. A lot of games. A lot of different types of games on the console too, you know, but this thing did not sell well at all. That's a tough one to get. But yeah, you know, this made the Wii U like a mega seller. It only sold a couple million in the States, I do believe. And it just got pummeled by the PlayStation 2. Alright, so you're noticing Hydro Thunder. Why is there 3 copies of it? Well, the first edition of Hydro Thunder had issues. They did a second pressing, and there's some other games too with a hot new. They had sound issues, save issues, etc. They just didn't work. There was just a bad run of games, initial games, and so they did a second print with a hot new sticker, and then the All Stars edition of Hydro Thunder. So that's why I have that. House of the Dead 2, sorry. Many of these have the original stickers on them. If I got them from, you know, KB Toys, Toys R Us. The green stickers are all Toys R Us. There's a couple fluorescent ones. And again, I kept all that on there. I'm a big kind of like the original stickers on games. Going back to the days of the Atari, I kept the original stickers. Now, you know, a lot of people would have taken off that GameStop sticker. Well, GameStop's going away eventually, and I kept it on there because just to kind of show where I purchased it. There's some other aftermarket stickers I need to take off on a couple games, but you know, I like that I kept the original price sticker or the clearance mark stickers on it. I think that's interesting. I think that's history. You know, I don't collect to resell. I collecting because I'm passionate about games. I played many of these back in the day. I have a lot of great memories. I think Sega fans hold the Dreamcast in high regard, and rightfully so. It was a wonderful console. Whether or not it didn't sell great, I mean, it had some amazing games, and games that are still fun to play today. A wonderful console. You know? Sega gave us a great gift at the end. And I understand why they're third party now, but they did the right thing. A lot of sports titles. Ready to Rumble. Now, I don't have the Ready to Rumble original case, but I have the original disc. And so I think the original disc is there. And then the second release, the disc was red. So actually there's a disc color variation, not just a case variation on those, the hot new versus other versions. And then Ready to Rumble, Boxing, All-Stars. Seaman, and that's complete. Pretty hard game to get complete with the microphone accessory and everything. Have a sealed Walmart Dreamcast game. Walmart didn't. I don't think they carried a ton of Dreamcast, but they had some. Shimu, and so there's a limited edition with like an extra CD. And that's the differences there. My original case is a little cracked. I need to replace some of the cases. I've replaced some of them. I try to get original if I can. I don't like using aftermarket cases, but I'll do it. I'll do it if I have to. All right, this is kind of cool. KB Toys, $1. They had some really common Dreamcast games where I came from in California. And there was a lot of great deals. Played a lot of Jedi Power Battles and Racer. Those were fun. Yeah, there's a Speed Devils, and there is a variation of that. I've not seen it in person. Last game on the collection was Tech Romancer. I got it at Pink Gorilla Games. Yep. Got that at PAX about 5 years ago. I want to say 5, could be more. That's a great store. Tony Hawk, great version of it. A lot of racing games too. Those 3 test drive games. Typing the Dead. I have a sealed copy from Toys R Us. Unreal Tournament was a lot of fun. Alright. So wrapping up here, I'm going to explain kind of what am I looking at the bottom here. Those aren't games. So for people that want to collect everything, there's a couple things here. Again, I don't have all the demo discs. There's other things too, but I just wanted to show just some other things that are fun to collect for the Dreamcast. So say you get bored and you collect all the Dreamcast games. There's always homebrews. They're constantly making new games. Again, I'm a huge fan of this console. So right here is Bleemcast, and Bleemcast you were able to play some PlayStation games and play them on the Dreamcast and it bumped up it just made them look prettier using some of the Dreamcast specs. And they made 3 for the Dreamcast. They made 1 for Tekken 3, and Metal Gear Solid, and Gran Turismo 2. And that one's pretty easy to get, but these 2 are pretty hard to get. And so those are pretty hard to get. Alright, this is like a birthday celebration for Sonic when Sonic turned 10. And it came with a coin, like a birthday card. It's really cool. Alright, web browser. There's different web browser packages. I do believe I think there's a 3.0, but I don't have that disc. These are some music soundtracks and different games. Space Channel 5 and Jet Grind Radio. Pretty cool. Thank you, Corey of Classics and Oddities. He scored me both, I do believe. And then the Dreamcast magazine. And I made a series of demo discs. And I usually came, I think, starting with 2 or 3 was the first Dreamcast demo disc. And I love that. I played all these. They came in the store, and we had access to them as GameStop employees. And yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's US Dreamcast game library in one shot. And this is just one of the many. I have 27 complete collections, and this one is one of my favorite. I'm a huge Sega guy, and so always have been, always will be. I love collecting Sega. I think it's always going to be in the shadow of Nintendo and PlayStation and some other collectibles. But Sega really is a great company, and they've made a lot of games over the years and consoles. And to me, the Dreamcast was something that I appreciated in college and played it quite a bit. And I'm happy to pursue a collection, and that's what it looks like. So there you have it. And I know that the US Dreamcast collection is smaller than some other regions, but I had a lot of fun collecting this, and hopefully this can be a visual guide for others that want to collect. What does a game look like? And hope it helps. And so thank you so much for people continuing to tune in to my humble channel as I'm getting closer to 60,000 subs. And so thank you. It means the world for me as you continue to tune in. I also have a Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can contribute, and you get an exclusive video every month. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock. You take care.